Well, they did it again. In a move surprising absolutely no one who's been paying attention to the perpetual disaster that is American telecommunications policy, the U.S. Appeals Court just blocked the Biden administration's attempt to restore net neutrality rules. The January 2nd ruling effectively maintains the status quo established during the Trump years when former Verizon lawyer turned FCC chairman Ajit Pai gleefully took a weed whacker to consumer protections. For those keeping score at home, this means the internet service providers can continue to treat your data however they want. They can throttle speeds, create paid fast lanes, and generally behave like the monopolistic overlords that they are. It's a massive win for telecoms like Comcast, Verizon, and AT&T, who've spent decades and countless millions of dollars lobbying to avoid being treated like the utilities they absolutely should be. UNFTR. So the court's rationale for all this, by the way, is that the Federal Communications Commission somehow lacks the authority to impose communications regulations without Congress explicitly granting it, which is rich, considering Congress's stellar track record of standing up to corporate interests and protecting consumers. Quite the catch-22. To understand how we ended up in this digital dystopia, we need to wind the clock all the way back to 1996, when Bill Clinton signed the Telecommunications Act with all the optimistic fervor of a tech utopian who just discovered an AOL chat room. He said, quote, "It'll create many high-wage jobs," presumably while crossing his fingers behind his back, and said,
"It will provide for more information and more entertainment to virtually every American home."
So now, do you notice that sneaky virtually qualifier?
Virtually every American home.
That's the kind of careful hedging that would make any corporate lawyer proud. You see, the act was supposed to usher in an era of competition and innovation. Instead, it created a feeding frenzy of consolidation. The same companies that once needed to be forcibly broken up, Ma Bell, were essentially given permission to get the band back together, this time with even more instruments. What the '96 Act crucially failed to recognize was that internet access would become as essential to modern life as electricity or running water. While the old telephone companies were required to provide universal service, meaning they had to extend their networks to every single community, including rural and low-income areas, no such obligation was placed on broadband providers. This brings us to the modern reality of the digital divide, where your zip code determines whether you can participate in the 21st century economy. So while Comcast executives debate which yacht to buy, kids in rural America were sitting in McDonald's parking lots during the pandemic trying to submit their homework using free Wi-Fi. The numbers tell the story. According to FCC's own data, which, by the way, dramatically overestimates coverage, roughly 19 million Americans still lack access to fixed broadband service at threshold speeds. And that's just access. When you factor in affordability, the number of Americans effectively excluded from the digital economy skyrockets. Without net neutrality protections, ISPs are free to play favorites with your data. Want to stream Netflix? Better hope your provider doesn't have a competing service that they'd rather you use. Running a small business? Good luck competing when your website loads slower than your bigger competitors who can afford to pay for priority treatment. This isn't theoretical, by the way. We've already seen examples of ISPs throttling content they don't like. In 2017, Verizon was caught throttling Netflix and YouTube, claiming it was just testing network optimization, which is corporate speak for, we can do whatever the fuck we want with your data and you'll like it. So they know that they can do it, and we know they're willing to. And here's the kicker. There's a solution that's already proven to work, but good luck hearing about it from your local representatives who are drowning in telecom campaign contributions. Municipal broadband networks, where cities and towns build and operate their own internet infrastructure, consistently deliver faster speeds at lower prices than their corporate counterparts. Take Chattanooga, Tennessee, nicknamed Gig City, where the municipal network provides some of the fastest internet speeds in the country at prices that make Comcast executives break out in hives. The service is so good that Consumer Reports rated it the top internet provider in the entire United States. But thanks to intensive industry lobbying, roughly 20 states have laws restricting or prohibiting municipal broadband networks. So where do we go from here? The court's ruling effectively kicks the ball back to Congress, where the telecommunications industry has already deployed an army of lobbyists armed with campaign contributions and carefully crafted talking points about innovation and regulatory burden. Senator Ed Markey had previously introduced the Net Neutrality and Broadband Justice Act, which would explicitly classify broadband as a telecommunications service under Title II of the Communications Act. This would give the FCC the authority it needs to reinstate net neutrality protections and prevent the regulatory ping-pong that we've seen over the last decade. But let's be real. In a Congress where members regularly perform like trained seals for corporate donors, the odds of meaningful reform are about as good as finding Comcast customer service representatives who can fix your problem on the first call. Meanwhile, the telecom giants are already planning their next moves. Without net neutrality protections, they're free to experiment with new ways to monetize your data and squeeze more profit out of their monopoly positions. Get ready for more innovative pricing schemes, more arbitrary data caps, and more mysterious fees appearing on your monthly bill. The bitter irony is that while America dithers, other countries are treating internet access as the essential utility that it is. The EU has strong net neutrality protections in place since 2016. And South Korea's average internet speeds make ours look like we're still on dial-up. But at least we're winning at something. Having the most expensive internet in the developed world while simultaneously managing to exclude millions of Americans from the digital economy. The fight for net neutrality isn't about whether Netflix buffers during prime time. It's about whether we're going to allow a handful of corporations to be the gatekeepers of information, commerce, and communication in the digital age. It's about whether we believe internet access is a luxury or a necessity in the modern society. So until Congress finds the political will to stand up to big telecom, or until enough Americans get fed up and demand municipal broadband options, we'll continue to pay more for less, while watching the digital divide turn into an unbridgeable chasm. Welcome to the American dream, buffering at 56K. Hey, don't forget to sign up for our free weekly newsletter at UNFTR.com. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, remember, like and subscribe. See you in the next one.